The whale in the sky above my house. Welcome to a new video, welcome to a new artwork. This is a multimedia artwork actually. I created this using ink on watercolor paper and also digital media. I used Procreate and fixed it up and played around with a few other shapes and flows. So let me introduce you to this piece, and I would love to talk to you about a few different things, including process, maybe a little bit about whales, and the little story that I had in my head while I was creating this artwork. So as always, I started in my sketchbook. I recently came out with a workshop for my Patreons, and in that workshop I talked a lot about my process of coming up with illustrations which focus on storytelling, which really means something to you. And this is the process I've been using for years, and it was really fun to be able to share it. So I have this lovely class that I've spent weeks and hours working on and perfecting. I found it really interesting and quite challenging to put words and tasks and steps to my process, which is something that I'd kind of done but never really in a sit down workshop kind of way. So after doing that class and then making this artwork and really being mindful that I had talked about all these steps which I just have developed naturally in my illustration life, was really fun to go and see me actually doing it, being aware of me actually doing it without just doing it automatically. So if you're interested to learn about my process and maybe try a few tasks that I've put together, go have a look at my little workshop. It's on Patreon at the moment. It's available in the Yellow Bird tier, which is $7 until the end of August, and then it is moving to a paid class. But it's far cheaper in the Yellow Bird as it is right now than it will be as a paid workshop. Anyway, enough of that. So this is the process I always do. I start with dissecting an idea that I had in my head in my sketchbook, and I just draw and draw and draw and try to combine all these different ideas. And when I feel like I've done the ideas to the full extent that I can, I do more, because there's always more ideas to come out. And oftentimes those ideas are the best ones. So I filled a couple of spreads in my sketchbook, just doodling. I used my favorite calligraphy pen that I have at the moment. It's a Sailor Feud calligraphy pen. It's great. I just put in some ink that I had into it, a nice blue ink, and drew over some pre-blobbinated pages that I had in my sketchbook. Really trying to work out whales and shapes of whales and the flow of whales, and how this story that I had kind of baby developing in my head as I started drawing, how that would work with composition and flow and rhythm and shape and silhouette and storytelling. I really love exploring in my sketchbook, figuring out different ways, different shapes, different ways to tell a story using different shapes and different flow and different compositions and that sort of thing. So I spent quite a bit of time in my sketchbook. Sometimes I really don't plan very much, but other times I just have a really nice time in my sketchbook and I spend longer there. So this is one of those times. I just had a really nice time doodling, thinking about whales, thinking about water, thinking about floating and all that kind of stuff. I got out a piece of watercolor paper, which is just a standard watercolor paper. I used a Fabriano watercolor paper, 300 GSM cotton paper, standard, simple, good. I started out by sketching out a vague design that I had come up with in just a really light coloured greeny blue pencil. So one of my favorite mediums in the whole world, one of those like if you were stranded on a desert island, which art supply would you bring with you? For me, it's ink. I love ink. I've loved ink for as long as I can remember. When I first picked it up when I was in high school, I fell in love with it instantly. So it had been a while since I used ink last, probably last October when I did the Adventures Over Leaves series. So I was like, I'm itching to do ink. I really want to do some ink. So that's what I decided to do for this piece. The inks I use are just a mix of different things that I have. I've collected so many different kinds of inks over the years. But a lot of the little ones that you're seeing me using are from a brand called Diamine. And I got them in the Ink Vent calendar last year and a couple of years previous. I did a whole series last year of me using these inks from the Ink Vent calendar around Christmas time. And they're always such a joy to use. A lot of these, though, they have gimmicks to them. They've got like sparkles or they're scented or something, which isn't my favorite thing. I love a pure ink, but I don't know, the colors are just so beautiful. And I really am not that fussy when it comes to ink or my art supplies in general. So I started this piece by doing a inky, watery, very light wash layer of colors, and I really layered a bunch of different colors within the same color family, and just threw water around, threw ink around, and let it do really interesting, fun, inky, spready, bleedy goodness. And I really like to do this because it gives the painting like this fun underglow, and I love the unexpected textures that happen. They kind of give me a little bit of direction and a little bit of a inspiration. Those, as Bob Ross says, and as I always like to say, those happy little accidents. I think they're just a magical ingredient in a painting, especially when you're working with something that is kind of unpredictable like ink. They're so exciting, and they're so fun to just let happen sometimes. And you know, there are ways to fix it if it didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out. But I love to embrace those funny little things that happen. I love ink. I love the fluidity, and I love this unpredictability that it has, and the way it creates weird and wonderful texture when it's next to itself, when it bleeds into the other colors, and I just love the warmth and the glow of ink. I really enjoy using it. It's so pigmented, it's so lovely. It's like magical, colorful water. Even though ink is unpredictable and weird and wonderful, it's really fun once you are able to learn how to control the use of ink by applying lots of layers and lots of water and just moving slowly. So it's a really nice tool that I love to use when I'm feeling kind of just wanting to do something slow and meditative and thoughtful. There's lots of waiting in between layers. There's lots of drying in between layers. I actually had my little hair dryer with me to help dry as I went along, which definitely sped up the process because I'm not someone who really likes to wait around for things to dry all the time. So tiny hair dryer, super handy. And the brushes I used were just very basic, soft synthetic brushes. Nothing really fancy, no big brands or anything like that. I think I use a mixture of Neef, Ziyose, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and whatever else I have laying around. I also love using calligraphy or fountain pen ink, water-based, because it does interesting stuff. I never remember what it's called, but for instance, there's a couple of these inks where you paint it on and it looks blue, and then when you pull it back, or when you add a bit of water, or when you dab it away with a bit of paper towel, it's like there's a pink underneath. I love that. I think that's so fun and so interesting to use. So with this piece, I did plan a little bit, as you can see, with all my sketches in my sketchbook and the light sketch on the piece of paper. But I leave a lot of room for responding to the textures and marks in ink. I like to let the accidents and surprises inform a little bit of my direction as I go. I like to have the blueprints of a bit of a guide, but I just like going with the flow, like a stream of consciousness style approach, if you will. So I did a bunch of layering, and then layering of negative space and layering of positive space shapes when it comes to the little magical circles or stars or whatever they may be, and then the flow of water around and the shape of the trees and that sort of thing. It's all kind of thought through, but only as I go. It's not really planned ahead. It's just sort of like, what's the next step? Okay, let's work on this. Let's do some negative space here, or let's do some positive space here. It's all very go with the flow. So this design is going to be the August Patreon rewards. As an Orange Bird tier member, you get a double-sided mini print. So on one side is the final artwork, and on the back is like a collection, a puzzle pieced together print of all the sketchbook drawings and stuff that I did to lead me to the final piece. And I've also got a brand new tier called the Green Bird tier, and this is for those who just want the sticker. And also, this is the first time I've ever done this, but I'm making a holo sticker, which means it's silver, shiny, holographic rainbow of the whale. So around the edges of the whale and like some of the water streams and some of the little circle details are going to be holographic in the whale. And I'm very excited. So this is a vinyl sticker. This one's 10 centimeters wide at its widest point. Usually my stickers are about 7 centimeters at the widest point or tallest point. It's going to be a bit more of a statement sticker, and I'm very excited for that. So you have until the end of August to sign up to either one of these tiers if you want any of these rewards, and I'll post them out to you early the following month. More information if you want to learn a little bit more about postings and how it all works, there's a link below. I'm really excited to send this one out to everyone, and thank you for everyone who has already signed up. I love my patrons. Whales are amazing. I've always loved whales. Whales were one of my first ever hyperfixations, one of my first ever obsessions when I was a child. I had whale everything. My mum made me whale quilts. I had whale soft toys. I had whale teddies. I would make whales out of plasticine and draw them. It was just my whole life. We had the old computer, Windows 95 or Windows 94, and there was a educational program on it called The Secret Life of Whales or something similar to that. And it was just a bunch of video clips of different whales and in different parts of the world doing different things, and different researchers talking about different things that whales did and what they knew about whales. And it was just one of those programs that I would always just go on, and you had to kind of click through all these different rooms or all these different pages to find new video clips of whale information, and it was my favorite thing ever. Whales are also really important figures in all sorts of different folklore and myth in different cultures and communities around the world. There's a New Zealand film called The Whale Rider, and I just dreamed of being the whale rider girl for so many years. In Māori legend, the girl was saved from drowning by a whale, and she rode it to safety, and I think it's so beautiful and magical. Whales are considered like the ancestors and protectors in Māori culture. But they also just like symbolize intuition, deep knowing, emotional journeys in many modern day dream and spiritual traditions. But not just mythically, not just spiritually. I think whales are amazing scientifically. They can live for so long. Like, I read a thing once where they found a whale with a harpoon scar that dated from the 1790s, and this was found in the 1970s, so that whale was very old. Some bowhead whales live for over 200 years, and humpback whales can live for 90 years or something like that. And I think their songs are amazing and powerful. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but whales songs are learned and shared amongst themselves. They're not necessarily instinctual, they're learnt. Like, different populations in different parts of the world adopt new songs from ones they hear other whales singing, which is like a culture. It's like one of the only non-human cultures in the animal kingdom. the fact that they learn and share songs with each other, that they don't automatically know how to make songs. Mind-blowing. I love it. Their songs can travel through thousands of kilometers across the oceans, and back before there was a lot of sonar and ships and all that kind of stuff, whales could hear each other from the other side of the world. And humpbacks sing for hours and hours with complex patterns that are always evolving and changing depending on where they are, and who knows, it's just all very magical. I love it. I also love that whales are really creative and interesting in the way they feed. There's all sorts of different things. One thing that always stands out is the way they use bubbles, bubble net feeding. They work together to trap fish in spirals of air and bubble around each other. It's just like they have to cooperate and work together to create these spirals of bubbles, this bubble net to collect fish to eat. They're amazing. So I got to the point in painting with ink where I sort of was kind of getting a bit frustrated due to my lack of planning. And I had made a couple of little decisions that I was going to find it difficult to fix up using inks. So I decided to scan it, take it into Photoshop, do a little bit of color fixing just to make it match the feeling that I had in my head. And then I took it into Procreate on my iPad. And I wanted to do this because I wanted to experiment with a few different shapes and colors and that sort of thing. And I've been enjoying doing digital art a lot lately, so I thought, why not combine the two and really just clean it up and make it nice and creamy, while still keeping some of the texture of the ink in the paper and some of the interesting bleedy, inky effects, but yet, fixing it up and adding nice little bits, experiment in a non-destructive way, I guess, by adjusting colors and refining elements without losing the spontaneity of the ink. So the brushes that I used for Procreate for this piece are from a set that I downloaded. The set is called Tara's brushes. The brush I used pretty much exclusively was the Tara's oil pastel brush, and I used that one because it had good texture to it, which almost mimicked the watercolor paper. So I could sort of disguise it so that it looked like it could have been ink as well. And it's really nice to layer, and it has really good opacity and also really good transparency as well if I needed it to be a little softer and blend a little bit better. So Tara's oil pastel in the Tara's brushes kit. I use them quite often, but that's my favorite brush in that kit. So as I'm painting and working away and drawing and whatever I'm doing when I'm making an art, I'm creating narratives in my head a lot of the time. I like coming up with little stories. I think you've probably noticed this in a lot of my past artworks, especially my calendar series. I love to make little stories in all my calendar series artworks. And this one's the same. I thought this artwork tells a story, whether it's the story that I'm going to tell you now or whatever story you want it to say, which means something to you. I love illustrations that tell stories like that. And in my head, the story goes something like this. In the hours when the sky thins and the light stretches across the clouds, turning pinks and golds and blues, she climbs up onto the top of her house and settles into the quiet. The rooftop is the perfect place to watch the sky unravel and wait for the whale to breach. It's the only time the whale appears. First she hears his song distant, and then the whale rises in front of her. No one else sees it but her. She never questions how or why he's there. It's not about the answers, it's about sitting still long enough to notice something beautiful. And the whale passes overhead slowly and deliberately. She leans back and watches. Sometimes he looks down at her, and in a small, impossible moment, they seem to understand each other. She knows he's real. He knows she believes in him, and that's all either of them need. So this is the final piece. I hope you enjoyed it. And sign up anytime within August to either the orange or the green bird tier to get your print and sticker or just sticker. And if you want to learn my tips and tricks and secrets about how I create my illustrations and the deep thought processes that go behind it, have a look at my new class, which is available all August in the yellow bird tier and up. And then after that, as a one-time purchasable class. Go have a look. I really recommend it if illustration is something that you want to dive deeper into and make it meaningful and make it authentically you. And if you made it to the end, big kisses, big whale songs to you. I will see you next time. Okay, tooroo!